Urban Meyer told the truth. And now, media-wise and NFL-wise, he's being punished for it, for speaking the truth. Meanwhile, Bill Belichick stood up at the podium and straight up lied to the media. Cam Newton was cut in part because he's not vaccinated. And it makes too much sense from a team perspective to bring in a backup quarterback who is vaccinated to specify and stick within the protocols of what the NFL requires and what you can't do and can do as an unvaccinated player, and your availability for contact tracing. It has nothing to do with actually contracting the virus. It's just contact tracing if you're around it. And you break protocols, getting tested at the wrong spot, as Cam Newton did, you're out for 5 days, even though you're negative for COVID-19. It's crazy to think about, but that's what the NFL has to consider. NFL teams are having to consider right now. Urban Meyer told the truth. And now, media-wise and NFL-wise, he's being punished for it, for speaking the truth. Meanwhile, Bill Belichick stood up at the podium and straight up lied to the media and said that the vaccination policy had nothing to do with the decision, which is just a straight lie. Can we all agree on that? If Urban Meyer is telling the truth, Bill Belichick is lying.
Urban Meyer absolutely telling the truth. I'm not an Urban Meyer guy at all, but he's just stating the obvious. And I think this contempt for him stating the obvious, to the point that the Jaguars had to release a statement today trying to beep, 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 go back on him stating the obvious, an honest, obvious point, is ridiculous. There's no way it doesn't factor in. And it's because of the NFL's own rules that it factors in. If you don't want it to factor in, then don't create rules that make it obvious why you would prefer your backups to be vaccinated as opposed to not vaccinated. It's a common sense issue. It's not some kind of punishment. It's just we're using the rules.
Well, here's my biggest issue. It's definitely not with Urban Meyer, who is telling the truth, and I applaud his candor in this, and the fact that he would come out and say it where other coaches aren't saying it, because it is the truth. Here's also the truth. This was created by the league and the NFLPA to make it very difficult on those who are unvaccinated and to encourage people to get vaccinated. You are also making it difficult on decision makers to reward those who are unvaccinated with things like contracts with short notice and cuts and other things like this. So for the NFLPA to now launch some sort of investigation or have questions about what Urban Meyer is saying, you helped create this system that allows for this. I don't understand what they're looking into, because they're in part responsible for what's going on.
It's because they have colluded behind the scenes and released a statement yesterday saying that the vaccination policy would not cause more players, unvaccinated players, to get cut, which again, common sense tells you it's easier on the team to keep the vaccinated player based on protocol. If you're not a starter, you're not making the roster, period.
As an unvaccinated guy, no.
If you're not a contributor, you're not getting the chance to even try out.
Look, you got to be top end of the roster to survive unvaccinated, right? You got to be a guy that they have to have. If they don't have to have you, then you better be vaccinated.
Yeah, Lamar Jackson is fine. He's going to be safe in Baltimore. That's the example of an unvaccinated player.
Your top line of the depth chart, or in a nickel or dime package, a 3 wide, a 2 tight. Somewhere you got to have a role. If you're a backup player who plays special teams, guess what? They can do just as well with a vaccinated guy who's not going to cause them problems or be at the heart of an outbreak.
Well, and it's not even about whether or not you agree with the policy, or I'm basing this off of, from a Patriots perspective, why on earth, any NFL team, why would you have an unvaccinated player based on the policy that's in place, whether or not you agree with it or not? Why would you have an unvaccinated backup quarterback at all? Because of the availability factor, and knowing that the contact tracing at minimum is keeping them out 5 days. So if something happens with your backup on a Thursday, they're not going to be available for you home or away game on the Sunday kickoff. You can't afford to risk that week to week in the league. And that played a huge factor in why Cam Newton's not the backup quarterback for the New England Patriots.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you're notified every time Outkick 360 goes live. We are live weekdays, 11 a.m. Central, noon Eastern, right here across the Outkick Network. And while you're at it, like this video and let us know what you think in the comments below.